This must be an important topic because they brought the old guy out to talk about it. And I'm going to flip through these things fairly quickly because we have a short period of time and there's a panel coming at 4 that I don't want to hold up. In the interest of making sure this is relevant for you, I would welcome your questions as we go through, and if the conversation ends up taking a tangent from what I had planned, I'm completely comfortable with that. I want you leaving feeling that was worth my while, not, I'll never get that half hour back. I do want to talk a bit about what it is, though, because I think the single greatest barrier to effectively networking is the gross misunderstanding of what it actually is. I was joking in the lobby just before I came in that many people anticipate networking with the same enthusiasm they anticipate a colonoscopy. Now, looking around the room, most of you are too young to even worry about that, but trust me, when it comes. Ask the doctor if there's anything else on. When you're looking at the never mind. So what do you suppose networking actually is?
Connecting with people.
Relationship building, connecting with people.
Positioning.
Positioning. This half of the room apparently speaking for this half. Thoughts?
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots.
Information exchange.
Information exchange. Have we met before?
Yeah.
Network. So I'm going to key on what Justin said. When I give talks on networking, and this is probably the topic I speak on most, fundamentally it is about relationship building. I would like you for a moment to place in your mind, and if you dare, place in your heart, the most important relationship to you in your life. Take a minute and see that person. Is everybody there? By the way, I don't ask rhetorical questions, so if you're just looking back at me, I don't know what that means. This means yes, this means no. Okay. All right. Why does that relationship work?
Communication. Communication.
Communication?
I was just going to say because we talk.
Because you talk.
Give and take.
Give and take.
Invest time in it.
Invest time in it, I'm sorry?
Mutual respect.
Mutual. Okay. Mutual respect, understanding.
Similar interests.
Okay. Honest. Okay.
Non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental. Is this sounding like a business transaction to anybody? Do you ever go to this relationship and say, I'm working with Amway and I got a hell of a deal on spray bottle? Nobody works with Amway, right? Piece of check. Nothing wrong with Amway. But there's no transaction involved. And the relationship works because you take care of it, because it's important to you. And I think if people could ingrain that in themselves, if they could really believe all those things you just said, if you could take that belief system to the conversations that you might be having, I think all of us would have an easier time of it. Those of us on the receiving end of these conversations, and those of you on the initiating end of those conversations. It's when you approach them thinking you're going to ask for something, that you need to walk away with a job offer or a lead to a decision maker. It's when you believe that that's what has to happen in order for it to be successful that things start to break down. Fundamentally, this is about relationship building. When I left Right Management and joined Optimum Talent, I put a posting up on my LinkedIn page, which as of half an hour ago had 64,233 hits. I'm not bragging, by the way. This has been quite surprising to me. I closed the post with, remember, networking is fundamentally relationship building. In order to have a relationship, you must feed it. So keep in touch. So these are just some of the things that comprise what it actually is. And you'll notice it looks like there's some transactions in here. But one of the things, because of time, that I want us to pay attention to is this. a lot of the folks that I've worked with over the course of this last downturn, the last 2.5 years, that just won't go the hell away, have gone into conversations that have ended with the person I've met with saying, well, if I hear something, I'll let you know. Has anyone heard that? Has anyone heard that? How do you feel about that as an outcome? Not great.
Well, just tell you to get stuff.
I'm sorry?
Might as well just tell you to get stuff.
It's code speak for get stuff. Sucks to be you, and
See you later.
I don't validate
No, I
parking.
don't want to see you again.
I'm sorry, I don't want to.
I don't want to see you again.
Okay. Why do you think people are saying to you, if I hear something, I'll let you know?
It's the easy way out. It's not being too honest. It's not being honest and saying, look, you're not going to hit the organization or whatever. They want you to be politically correct.
Yeah,
That's all the relationship is, you're just looking for a job. And
it's what you said.
yeah,
Go to a meeting like that, you say, if I hear anything, I'll let you know.
yeah.
Yeah? What else? All right, let me ask you this. Who in the room is an expert at finding work? Show of hands.
Define expert.
Okay, so three people have their hand up. It didn't go without notice, by the way, that none of you said me or Andrea or our friend in the back. So I believe that if I put your entire network together, whatever size it is, in one room, and I ask them each, as a group, show of hands, who's an expert at finding work, how different do you suppose their answer would be compared to the one you just gave me? Not very different. So I think we've all acknowledged this is a pure empirical double-blind study we've just completed. We can say without reservation that people are not expert at finding work. You as graduates of an executive MBA program will not come out of this being expert at finding work. But you'll have a designation. And generally speaking, a designation and $50 will buy you lunch, provided you have the $50 to start with. So I believe people are saying that because that's all they know how to do. They're not saying it, I don't believe, because they're trying to brush you off. I do believe firmly that people sincerely want to help and profoundly don't know how. And your job through networking is to show them how, is to teach them how, is to guide them, is to be their coach to take them through this process. And the better skilled you are at that, the better the outcome you get, and the better they feel because they actually delivered something that's tangible to you, of use to you, and ultimately of use to them. And that means this last point. The nature of your conversations has more to do with finding pain than finding, if they hear of something, let you know. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by finding pain? Yes?
Finding problems that may need solutions that you may have done before, you may have experienced before.
Right, right. And so one of the fundamental skills of networking is the art of great questions. You ask great questions, you have great conversations. You ask great questions, you demonstrate your knowledge. There isn't a venue large enough to host everyone that has the designation you're working on. Your ability to demonstrate the value and content of that learning through the quality of questions you ask in a conversation starts to show the real value of what you're learning. There is also a helping element to this. I've said frequently, wrote in my book, if you want help, be helpful. If you want to be heard, listen. If you want a connection, be one. This isn't all about, you know, the upside down ball cap on a street corner. So here's some things that it's not. It isn't pestering or bothering people. Has anyone heard of networking fatigue? Has anyone heard about that? How would you explain it to those that don't know what that is?
I don't have it
Exhaustion, trying to sell yourself.
Okay, interesting. Networking fatigue actually is a term used by people who are on the receiving end of the, hey Roger, do you know any job openings for me?
If I hear one, I'll get back to you.
Yep. And I'll be holding my breath. Operators are standing by. So I did a presentation a few months ago for a group of senior HR professionals. And we were talking about a range of different things, but one of them was the nature of this market and the whole recruiting process of which you're now a part. And in one form or another, through the course of your career, you're always going to be a part of it, whether you know it or not. I'll come back to that comment in a minute. And I asked the whole group, is anyone experiencing networking fatigue? And so here's how it was described. He's the VP HR for an oil field supply company. And I barely got the words out of my mouth, and he said, oh my God. I am inundated with people who are reaching out to me, people I've never met before, looking for a coffee meeting. I know they want a job, and I know why they want to meet with me, and I feel awful. And I don't want to say no, but I know if I say yes, I'm going to build hope that I can't deliver on. I'm going to disappoint them. I'm going to dash their hopes because I don't have a job, and I'm never likely to have a job for them. But I don't want to say no, and I feel awful, and I hate feeling awful. Yeah. This is interesting because you need to be aware that this is going on. You need to know that this is the nature of the market right now. You need to ingrain this in your own mind as you reach out to people, and you need to act in accordance with it. Because if you're just another call in a series of calls that adds to the depth of guilt that I'm feeling, this isn't going anywhere. And you think, well, that bald guy stole an hour of my life and I'm never going to get it back. And I think this is something that's really valuable for you, is it's not all about you. In fact, if this is really going to work, it's going to be all about them. And that's something we're thinking about. How are we doing so far? I'm wondering if you feel some connection to some of these descriptors on the screen. Anybody can relate to any of that? Which ones really resonate with you? I'm sorry, standing away.
Boasting.
I'm sorry?
Boasting.
Boasting. Oh, really? So you feel that networking is partly boasting,
Selling yourself.
selling yourselves. Selling yourself equals boasting?
Uh,
Not arguing, just checking to make sure I got it.
It's not in most of our nature to sit there and promote ourselves and,
Right.
and tell, like I don't know how many people would feel the same, but basically my units are amazing and my people are amazing, and
Yeah.
like when I would just, what is amazing about it,
Right.
I wouldn't be able to say, oh, I'm that and it's everybody and in my,
Okay.
yeah,
Can you hold that for 1 second? Can I offer a suggestion?
sure.
Okay. And this is something for all of you. Don't tell me you have an amazing team. Don't tell me you've led an amazing team. Don't tell me you've achieved fantastic results. Bull cookies. Don't believe it. I'm not going to believe it. If you want me to believe what you're telling me, show me that. Show me amazing. Show me spectacular results. Show me the numbers. Prove it and let me decide that it's amazing, incredible, strong. Does that make sense? I don't know if you can even imagine how many resumes I see in a week, or my colleagues with Conray Ross see in a day. And how many times, I don't know if you can imagine, how would you stomach reading the same drivel over and over and over again that came out of a book that somebody bought, borrowed, or stole? Don't tell me you have this stuff. Show me. Prove it. That's substantial. That's a difference maker. And most of those 800 people, I would argue, aren't doing that. They're thinking, I have an MBA, I have a BSc, I have an MSc, I have a CEC, I have an MOUSC, I got 25 years experience. I have, and the people reading it are saying, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, shut up, shut up, shut up. What has your experience been? Oh, sir, you had a comment, and I don't want to come
Oh,
back.
no, I was just gonna say daunting.
Daunting.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's just that sometimes you get into a room with a lot of people, and one person, like you go and talk to one person, they kind of just hold on to you, and you're feeling like 10 other people I want to talk to.
Yes.
Like, can you just let me move on? So I get,
Yes.
and I'm just always looking around like, I really
Yes.
want to talk to that person, I want to talk to
Yes.
that person. Like, what more do you want me to say to you? You know, so it's daunting.
Have you ever tried this?
No.
No, you're too young. You probably does. You might know, Rob. Well, I looked around. There wasn't anyone else that didn't have hair, so I'm gonna go gray. Star Wars, Star Trek. I mean, no.
Oh,
Scotty?
beam
Beam me up? Okay.
Everybody knows
It's a
that.
demographic thing, right? If the person you're standing in front of you is, I don't know what, under 40, they won't know what you're doing. So don't try that whole thing. Phone emerge. He's having a heart attack. Actually, that might be a good strategy. He's having a heart attack. Yes.
I think networking is engaging, and it's not just about finding out, oh, I need to get a job, I need to promote myself, but I truly think that it's that connection. And it's not just small talk. If you can really get in, connect with a person and
Yes.
engage with them, like, how many kids do you have, and what are kind of the activities that you like to do? I know
Yes.
these are kind of questions that are, I don't think I would
Quite
ask
human,
them.
actually.
Yeah, they're more
Yeah.
that human connection is important.
Yes. Now, what kind of a weirdo would ask a question like that? Like, how many kids do you have? But it's, sorry, Ron, go ahead.
It's just all the Dale Carnegie training, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody, well, ask
That's
Brian,
all
I
to
do,
do, or
it sounds like he knows.
else?
But you're right. It's demonstrating some interest. You know, this is fascinating. When you all take a break this afternoon, or before you head home, if you stop in the washroom, ladies, some of you ladies will have to do this. Of course, I haven't had to do that for quite a while, but this is to expose these. Have you noticed how many of these you have? How many? How many of these do you have? What's the universal message? Twice as much as you talk. Listen twice as much as you talk. If you're in a conversation, so I'm an credentialed coach. There's an acronym that we use in executive coaching. The acronym is WAIT. It stands for Why Am I Talking? If you're at an information meeting and why are you talking? What are you going to learn with your mouth open? Oh wait, I know, nothing. The corollary to that is if you walk in and you put a resume down in front of the person, that's the same as talking, only it's worse. Because you've told the person that the conversation is not about them and what they know, it's about you and what you have. And even if you've set it up on the premise of I'm not looking for a job, I'm really not looking for one, you've just lied, you've shown that you're lying because you put a resume. And more importantly, what's the whole conversation now going to be about? You and your resume. What do you learn? Zippity-doo-dah. Absolutely nothing. Make sense? With your comment with respect to having Klingons, first, if you're going to a networking event, and you'll know you're at one because you have a sticky name tag on your lapel that you're going to forget to remove when you go home, right? And you're walking down Stephen Avenue Mall and everybody's saying, hey Rob, how are you? How do you know my name? And you can usually tell in the room who the introverts are and the extroverts are. Have you ever seen this? Can I borrow this for just a second? You know why these were created, right? Do you know that? Did you know? It's a gift to humanity. And this device was really created for those people who actually have to end up at a networking event, and they tried as hard as they could. They made it to 38, they managed to not ever go to one, and now here they are at their first one. They'd rather lick carpet than do this. And there's 300 people in the room. What's their defense? This is their defense. Because here's the wall, and for most of this whole event, I can do this, and it's incredibly important that I look at everything that's on this device, notwithstanding the fact that it's upside down. And if I see somebody coming, I'll start typing. So if you are someone that's not particularly comfortable attending a networking event, if the thought of it is just terrifying, I would invite you to find someone that you would go with. So find someone that you know that also enjoys licking carpet rather than networking events, and go with them. And arrive early so you can stake out the room. So in this room, arriving early, I would maybe sit down where, what's your name?
Catherine.
I would sit down by where Catherine is, and in fact, there probably wouldn't be tables if it was networking, but our backs would be in that corner, so everyone that walks in the room we can see, right? And then the next thing that we would do is we would find the person in the room that appears to be just as uncomfortable as we are, or as we were anticipating arriving. So if that was Justin, we'd go talk to Justin. Well, Justin is probably going to be relieved because we're coming to him and introducing ourselves, and we're asking Justin, well, what do you do? What's your name, Justin? What do you do? And how many children do you have? And what are their names? And what are their birthdays? And what sports do they play? And what do you know, all of that stuff. And now the three of us could go and find the next most uncomfortable person. And by the time about 30 minutes is up, we're going to be the hottest group in the room. And people are going to want to be joining. True story. And by the way, here's something that I'll offer you. If you have a networking event that you'd like to go to, you know there's one coming, and you're not particularly comfortable going, but you'd really like to go, you feel that it's important, I'll make sure my card's available before you leave. Send me a note and I'll go with you. And I'll drive the conversation. And if you doubt I'll do this, try me. You'll find I'm very sincere. I'm committed to doing everything I can to help people make this whole process doable, workable, feasible, and enjoyable for both of the people that are involved. With respect to your dilemma and having someone that you've met, so let's just say you came to this event by yourself, and now this person is clinging to you like your life itself, and they won't leave. Then I would say, Justin, it's been great talking to you. There's a number of other people I want to meet, so bugger off. I mean, no, I wouldn't say that. I'd say, so take care, and here's my card, let's keep in touch. And then just walk away. Don't wait for a reaction. Don't sort of say, is that okay? Are you going to be all right? Like, don't do that. Just deliver the message and then leave. Does that make sense? Does that sound doable? Okay. So why are we doing this? Well, you just heard a presentation on branding. My quick definition of it is that's what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. So you think about what would I want this person to be saying about me after the conversation was over, and this activity of networking builds and solidifies your brand. The most powerful thing that can happen for you if you're in transition is to have someone talking about you to a stakeholder in your future. Think about it. This is something that happens in my office all the time. So I meet every week, twice, in a team meeting with executive recruiters. And often they're working on assignments that involve people that I know. And it works for you when someone's talking about you saying, hey, I know someone who would fit that profile beautifully. And you don't even know what's happened. But that story starts to circulate as you engage in this process. I'm originally from Montreal. When I first came to Calgary, and looking around the room, it's probably before most of you were born. That was sort of a jest, but not entirely. I learned quickly that in Calgary, people like to deal with people that they know. Second choice, deal with people that know people that they know. Last choice, not even a choice at all really, is dealing with people they've never met. The only time I found people in Calgary like dealing with people they don't know at all is during the stampede. It's at the doggy do breakfast, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and the person you're meeting has been drinking since 4. In the context particularly of job search and networking, Dealing with complete strangers is not something that people are comfortable with, especially if they're on the receiving end of all of this. So the more you can do to build connections with people at those organizations, the easier you're going to make it for yourself when you finally make the connection. So if of those 800 resumes, I'm sorry, I didn't see your name, Angela, that Angela knows is in her database, if Ryan was somebody in her network and said, hey Angela, I know you're looking to fill that position, here's a guy that I know, in fact he was in an MBA program with me, I think he'd be worth a conversation. What's the very next thing she's going to do?
I'm gonna call him.
And if you're not actively taking steps to do that, you're just some faceless resume sitting in a data bank with 800 of its peers, hoping an algorithm picks up a keyword in your resume, causing a junior recruiter at a hiring company who knows absolutely nothing about what you do for a living to possibly call you to see if you warrant a conversation with the decision makers. Does that sound hopeful to you?
No.
Good, it shouldn't. And no disrespect to anybody who may be in HR. What I have found is that people respond really well to the opportunity to provide advice. Let's say Enbridge was a company I wanted to join. They've gone through a significant transition recently, as you may know. I have so much runway in front of me. And if I'm not working, that runway is largely defined by how much money I have in my wallet. When do I need to land? But if I set out to build relationships with people who have influence within that organization, may work inside that organization, it can connect me to critical information and critical relationships that get me on the radar in the right way with the right people. Make sense? And that alone is a really good valued reason for working on this process. But further, if you're looking at a company like Enbridge, or you put the company in your mind that you're interested in working for, can you tell me right now what your next boss would define as the ideal candidate? Can you tell me that? Okay, you're all just looking at me again. Remember? Yes? No? Can you? You can.
Yeah.
So if you can, that means you know the name of your next boss. Do you know the name of your next boss? Okay. Okay. Well,
I'm confused.
all right. So if I want to work at Enbridge, I don't work there now, and I've used my network to identify that Justin is the guy that heads up the HR department. He's the SVP Human Resources. And that's the business unit I want to be part of. That's the team I want to join. He would have in his own mind the ideal candidate that would lead the career and talent management portion of that portfolio. He would know in his own mind exactly what he wants. So we have what he wants, and now we have the job posting that his recruiter wrote. So what happens typically is the recruiter then comes and talks to Justin and says, all right, so you're looking for somebody, what do you want? Tell me what kind of background you want, what kind of training do you want, what kind of education do you want, what kind of experience do you want, and then they compose a job posting that goes up on the company website that you and I all apply to. In 26 years that I've been doing this work, there has always been a gap of significance between the position described as it was posted and the ideal fit as defined by the leader. Why? I don't give a crap. It doesn't matter. The fact is there is a gap. How would I know? I work and coach executives, and I listen to them about who they're talking to, who they're recruiting, who they're interviewing, and the displeasure with that process, the problems they're having with onboarding people, the disconnect between the performance of the new hire and what the boss wants. Of course, the boss doesn't know how to articulate that, which elevates their frustration, which is why I come in, get involved in the whole conversation at all. There is always going to be a gap. Your job as a candidate is to figure out what that gap is. How do you do that? Of who?
Last time,
Yes.
somebody you met in a place that was for Enbridge, and
Yes.
said, have you worked, can you tell me
Yes.
something about it?
So if I want to be in supply chain, and I know someone at a peer level in supply chain, that's valuable content, but don't take it all the way to the bank. Because the new leader might have a different opinion about who they want. You need to get to the decision maker. So now I'm going to go to an influencer or a decision maker and I'm going to ask them, when you're looking for someone on your team in this capacity, how would you describe the ideal fit? Now the lovely thing about this is you're not in a transactional conversation. They don't have a job posting right now. The sad reality for most people in the midst of transition thinking about networking is they feel that job postings are the tool that drives action. And sadly for most people out of work, it's job postings that drive all action. No job posting, no activity. People love giving advice if you give them an opportunity to do it. Any questions so far? How's this working so far? Okay. So who exactly do we network with? Well, this is interesting. How many people in your network right now? Thousands, hundreds. Okay, that's not a rhetorical question.
100?
1,547.
Oh.
So you probably want to get to know Elaine. How many people in your network?
Hundreds?
Hundreds. 200. Rob? Same. Mike? 750. Right?
LinkedIn or like a real network?
You tell me. I don't care.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Farrell? Sorry, I can't see your name. How many people in your network? Yeah.
People that I actually maintain contact with, maybe about 20.
20. Okay. You know what's really interesting? I ask this question a lot. If I didn't see your name, sorry.
Cam.
Cam. If I'd ask Cam first, what often happens is I hear numbers similar to what Cam just said. If I'd asked Elaine first, and as it happened I did, you heard her number was 1,500 and change, often the numbers track there. I'm not trying to be clever. This is just an interesting anecdotal reflection. How many people do you know? Cam?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Hundreds, right? Sure. Sure. So more than in your network.
More.
All right.
Hundreds again?
Hundreds. Right? Thousands. Okay. I'm sensing there's a difference though. Okay. Tell me if this sounds like someone that would be in your network. This is someone who knows what you do for a living. They understand your occupation. They know where you've worked. They might know about a hiring company, a hiring manager, or a job that you'd be interested in. And if they haven't said it yet, they're soon going to say, if I hear of something, I'll let you know. Does that sound like somebody in your network? Does it? Okay. When you were thinking about people that you knew, was that family? Extended family? They may not even live in Canada. People you see at the gym, walking the dog. You see them at church. You talk to them across the fence, skiing. But this point of your relationship, the connection in your relationship is not work. It's something else. Does that sound right? Okay. So here's my definition of networking. And given I'm the oldest person in the room and I'm never wrong, I would invite you to adopt it. Did I mention yet that I'm sarcastic? Probably didn't need to. But so every single human being you know, think about this. Every single human being you know, regardless of how you know them, regardless of how old they are, and I am, by the way, talking diapers to diapers. Think about it. Regardless of where they live, on the condition they're living on Earth and alive, are part of your network. Now the first time I said that, about 6 years ago, I had a geologist in the room and he responded by saying, that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard anyone say in my entire life. I would never network with the kids on my son's hockey team. That would be ridiculous. So here's the short story. His son played on the Pee Wee 4 team of the Glen Lake Hawks, a team that I coached. That's not the moral of the story. Remember, this guy's a geologist. The head coach of the team was Darcy Lincoln. Darcy was the chief exploration geologist with Harvest Energy. Darcy's wife, Brenda, was a geologist with ConocoPhillips. Anybody got the point yet? But when you looked at the other parents of the kids on this team, you found supply chain, surface and mineral land, accounting, finance, production accounting, chief financial officer, lawyer, engineer, geologist. It was a who's who of corporate Calgary. Now the message is not make 1,000 copies of your resume, take it to the Oval or Flames Community Arena and start handing out your resume to strangers, because that's creepy and ineffective. But if he had stayed at the rink instead of dropping his kid off 90 minutes, coming back 90 minutes later and talked to the parents in the stands, sooner or later someone was going to say, so what do you do? And that's where it starts. Now tell me, I understand a number of you are in transition, is that right? So that you've left your more recent position, is that right? Some left or looking, okay. Is it fair to say that the company you are currently part of or recently left, it has been or is changing its strategy, its business plan to deal with this economy? Is that a fair statement? Are you privy to those changes? And any of you that have been laid off, if you weren't privy to them, you're at least privy to that one. Is it fair to say that a company you might be interested in joining is also changing its business plan, its strategies to deal with this economy? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Are you aware or privy to those changes? There's good content for a conversation. If you walk in with some well-constructed questions that have you leaving the conversation understanding how they're changing their strategy as it relates to someone who does what you do for a living, you've had a fabulous conversation. And the job posting topic never came up. Not once. Yes?
So how do you I consider it a cold call, but I was just talking to Cecilia about a job that I was interested in, but I think I could do the job, but the person that's hiring
Yes.
doesn't see what she wants to see in the resume, but I have the skills and knowledge. So do you just cold call them and ask them about what this new project is, or like, how do you?
It's a great question. As I was saying earlier, in my experience, it's the people that you're meeting with find the meeting easier when you're connected in some way. The hardest conversation you will ever have is with someone you've never met. And I'm not even talking about your comfort. I'm talking about theirs. If it's more comfortable for them, it's going to work better for you. It is worth a monumental effort to do everything you can to find someone that can bridge that connection for you. So my encouragement to everybody that's, whether they're working or not, but thinking about career and looking for work, is as your feet are coming out from under the covers in the morning, they haven't even hit the floor yet, ask yourself, who do I know that can help me with that? And you might think, I don't know. And then I would ask you as a coach, who do you know that can help you with that? What I would suggest is if it was you and I wanted that position, I would come to you and I'd find some time to meet. And my approach would be in person, email, or a phone call, whatever you're most comfortable with, and I'd ask you for a coffee meeting. Hey Angela, have you got a few minutes? I just wanted to chat with you about something quickly, 15, 20-minute call. When's a good time to chat? That's the setup. And then when we're having the conversation, I'd say, Angela, I noticed that you've posted that position 3 or 4 times now, and I'm really intrigued by it. I wondered if you could share with me what it is you're looking for and not finding. And I'd ask that question.
And if they say, well, I saw your resume, but
Yeah, I know. That's not what it's about, Angela. I know. Thank you. I appreciate that you saw it. Great. That's not what I want to know. What I really want to know is, what are you looking for that you're not seeing? Now, all of us are in a job or looking for one. And when we're in a job, we should be thinking about our next job. Now, you may look at me and think, well, why would you be doing that? You probably handled Moses's outplacement program. But he didn't actually get one. Noah, on the other hand. Okay, ha ha ha. Noah, never mind.
Noah.
Yeah, it's a while ago. So you always have to be thinking and readying yourself and building your brand for the role beyond the next one. The reason I'm standing in this room representing Optimum Talent is because of the intentional work I did on my brand. They picked 2 candidates that they wanted to consider for the role. They interviewed both of them. I was one of the 2. They didn't talk to anyone else. They had no interest in talking to anyone else. They had a very specific profile. There's 2 people in Canada that have it, and I'm one of them. I'm not boastful, by the way. This is a statement of fact. So you're building a role, building out a role that you want, and that's the role. So if you're not in it, how do I get in it? If I'm competing for it and I'm not being considered, there's a gap. Now, you and I could agree there isn't a gap. It's more of a gap of understanding than a gap of fact, if that makes sense. They're not seeing what they want. It's not because you don't have it, it's because they're not seeing it. So what is it specifically they were looking to see and not seeing? And further, if now's not the time I'm going to get this role, I am committed to this role. This is where I want to take my career next. So the next time this opportunity comes up, I want to compete for it, and I want you thinking I'm the best candidate. What do I have to do next to achieve that outcome? Because if I'm not going to get that role now, you look to me to have lots of career ahead of you. What does my next role need to include? What other skills should I work on? Is there some professional development that I should be looking at that's going to have me in the zone of ideal the next time this thing comes up? That's a great conversation. And boy, does it deliver a powerful message. I'm not playing around here. This isn't for fun. I'm playing for keeps, and I'm building a career, not applying for a job. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, I'm just thinking what I'm going to do is maybe quickly turn to questions, because what could I mean, we barely scratched the surface. I'm happy to make this PowerPoint available to the gals so that if you want to copy it, you can get it. And as I said, I'm happy to share my card with you. If you want to invite me in your LinkedIn network, I'll happily accept. If a coffee conversation is something that would be helpful to you, or you think I'm connected to somebody that might be helpful to you, then you only need to ask. I want to get to know you first, so that if the person says, well, who's Rob? I want to say, well, he's a guy that I joked it with, but never spoke to at a talk I gave. I don't need to say something else other than that. Okay? Well, what haven't we covered in this very short discussion that I can answer for you? Excuse me. Yes?
What if I'm, like, I know which organization I want to join,
Yes.
and I know they lack this sort of expertise that I have,
Yes.
but that job post is not there. And I know for example, the hiring manager, and he's my friend. This is facts, again.
I believe you.
Okay, these are all facts, and he's my friend, and we spoke again and again and again about it, and he has the issue, and I gave him solutions all the time,
Yes.
and it's not clicking
Yes.
every time. So sometimes I think, should I push it a little bit further with him, or should I just sit tight and wait until he just collapses and then come begging?
You may.
Oh.
I love the visual. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Canadians love pushy people. A reminder, I'm sarcastic. Yeah. The last thing you want to do is be pushy. I mean, unless you never want to talk to them again, in which case that's very effective. So, if the nail is already sunk, a heavier hammer is not the solution. Some of you may have a father that said this to you in one form or another. You know, honey, if you give it all away before you're married, why do you think they're ever going to marry you? Now, my father said that to my sisters. I have no idea how sexist what I just said is, so I'm going to blame my father. Stop giving it away for free. If you have a solution, what you want to be talking about is having them talk about what's it causing? What is this issue causing you to feel? What is happening as a result of this problem you've just beautifully described to me? What kinds of things are breaking down and what impact is it having on the business? What other areas of the business are impacted by this issue? Get them talking about that. What's stopping you from getting a solution? Well, we can't afford it, we don't have any money. Okay, let's set that aside for a minute and let's just imagine we did have the money. We'll come back to that. I know you don't have the money, you know you can't afford to pay anybody, I get it. Can't afford to hire anybody, I got it. Let's talk about what things would be like if you did. And here's the really important question. What kind of outcome would you need to achieve to make this make sense? Do you understand what I mean? So what would you have to achieve for this company in order for it to make sense for them to give you a contract or a position to handle that issue? Tell me about the outcome. Describe it for me. Doesn't matter, doesn't make any sense, we're never going to, no, I get it. We'll come back to that issue. But let's talk for just a minute. Humor me. What would have to happen? What outcome would you have to achieve in order for this to make sense? And now you get into the metrics. But you giving it away for free, you giving me a solution just has me saying, hey, dude, thanks a bunch. That was easy. Didn't cost me a nickel. Oh, and by the way, I can give you a mint, but we don't validate parking.
I guess being a young female in a very female-heavy organization like Alberta Health Services, so I started off working with executive team, and so now currently a manager has been for the last few years, and I have applied for director roles, so that's my next step, is like director or executive director kind of positions.
Yes.
Is that I always seem to get beat out by people who have like 20 years of experience, and I'm like, no, I am your person, I can do the job 100%, right? And I have the education, on top of the MBA, I do have a public health master's also, and so it's a bit frustrating just being a female, trying to get there and show them that, yes, I am young, but I know I can drive it for you guys.
It's a dissertation of what she has. Okay? So, this is a crappy metaphor, but it's the only one that comes to mind. I put on, you know the outfits that the race car drivers wear? Right? Head to toe, it's all covered, the funky thing around the neck. They got all these advertisements all over their body. Right? So I pull up in a Formula One car, and I screech it up to the end of your driveway, and I say, well, I'm not in it, of course, it's parked at the end of your driveway because I don't know how to drive that, it was towed there. And I say, I've had my driver's license since I was 16. I have been driving since I was 16, and in fact before that. I drove for 2 years. My dad would occasionally let me take the car out in the country. I have this really funky suit that's fireproof and covered with asbestos. Well, not anymore because that's not healthy. And I have these cool boots, and I know more about driving than God. But you've never seen me drive the car. You've never demonstrated to me that you have the knowledge. I don't care that you have an MBA. I don't care that you have an MSc. I don't care that you have 10 years experience. I don't care that you're male, female, Caucasian, not Caucasian. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is your ability to articulate the impact that you have had in the roles that you have had. You need to change gears. Your resume needs to speak of outcome. Your language, your discourse needs to speak of outcome. And you need to spend more time asking than telling. Ask great questions to show me what you know. Stop doing downloads. That's like this time of year when you phone up the garden center and they come to your driveway and dump a load of manure on your front lawn. It isn't pleasant. Stop doing it.
Well, Richard, I'm sorry. Honestly, this could go on, and we loved it. Thank you so much. Here's a little parting gift for us today.